How does one man go from being one of the most famous entertainers on the planet to almost completely disappearing in just a few years? How does someone make tens of millions of dollars, live like an absolute king, and then watch it all vanish, almost overnight? This is not a story about bad luck. This is a story about what happens when the money comes faster than the wisdom to handle it. Stay with me, because this one is wild. At one point, this man was everywhere. The music videos, the award shows, the commercials, the radio, the TV appearances, the sold-out crowds. You could not escape him. He had the songs. He had the dance moves. He had the pants. Those pants. He had the money and the kind of fame most artists spend their entire careers chasing and never reach. The world was not just watching him. The world was doing his dances at weddings, birthday parties, and school talent shows. He was a full cultural moment. Not just popular, unavoidable. But just a few years later, the same man who had the world dancing was sitting in bankruptcy court. Not because he stopped being talented, not because the world forgot who he was, but because of decisions, lifestyle, and a machine that got too big to feed. This is the story of Stanley Burrow, better known to the world as MC Hammer, and how he went from $33 million to broke in one of the most dramatic financial collapses in entertainment history. Welcome to People Who Fumbled Millions. Before he was MC Hammer, he was Stanley Kirk Burrell from Oakland, California. Long before the mansion, the dancers, the private jets, and the fame, he was just a kid trying to make something happen. His family did not come from big money. His father worked regular jobs, but gambling created serious financial problems at home. So from a young age, Stanley learned what it felt like when money was the source of stress instead of the solution. But he had something that could not be taught: energy, charisma, an ability to perform that was obvious from the moment he stepped in front of people. As a kid, he would dance outside Oakland A's games to earn money and get noticed. That presence eventually got him inside the organization itself, where he worked as a bat boy and clubhouse assistant, spending time around professional athletes and watching what success actually looked like up close. That experience planted something in him. He saw what was possible, and he decided he was going to get there. That baseball connection would change his life in ways he never expected. Around the Oakland A's, Stanley picked up a nickname. People thought he looked like baseball legend Hank the Hammer Aaron. So he became Hammer. The MC part came from performing as a master of ceremonies. But Hammer did not blow up instantly. There was no overnight success here. He served in the Navy. He came back to Oakland. He performed. He pushed his music. And when the industry was not coming to him, he went to it himself. He borrowed money from two Oakland A's players to fund his own record label. He pressed physical records and sold them out of the trunk of his car. That is not a rapper waiting for a deal. That is an entrepreneur building from scratch. The hustle worked. The independent success got too big to ignore, and Capitol Records came calling. The only problem with working that hard to get something is that sometimes you forget to plan for what happens when you actually get it. He dropped Please Hammer Don't Hurt Him in 1990, and then You Can't Touch. This happened. With that iconic sample, those unforgettable moves, and those pants that nobody could explain but everybody remembered, it was over. The album went diamond. 10 million copies in the United States alone. One of the best-selling rap albums of all time. Hammer was not just a rapper anymore. He was a brand, a movement, a moment the entire world was participating in. Grammy Awards, American Music Awards, his own Saturday morning cartoon, endorsement deals, merchandise, sold-out arena tours with full production, dozens of dancers, full choreography, performances that looked more like Broadway than rap concerts. He brought entertainment to hip-hop in a way mainstream America had never seen before. And at his peak, Forbes estimated he was earning around $33 million. For a kid who was dancing outside a stadium just to get noticed, that number was everything. Generational money, never work again money, the kind of wealth that could fund his grandchildren's grandchildren, if it was managed correctly. But this is where the story starts to turn. Because MC Hammer did not just become rich. He started living like the money printer was never going to turn off. The estate in Fremont, California, 17,000 square feet, full staff, security, a recording studio on the property, a place that cost money every single day just to exist. And beyond the mansion, Hammer was reportedly paying over 200 people. Not just tour crew, full-time employees, assistants, cooks, security guards, people who depended on him as their entire source of income. Here's the complicated part. This was not all selfishness. Hammer was known for being genuinely generous. He brought people from his community with him. He took care of his circle. He did not forget where he came from. But generosity without structure is just a slower way to go broke. When you are paying 200 people out of pocket, not from a corporation or a fund, but from your personal income, you need that income to keep coming in every single month forever. The mansion needs the money. The staff needs the money. The image needs the money. At the peak, the fuel was flowing. The question was, what happens when it stops? Music changes fast, and by the mid-1990s, hip-hop was changing. The era that had celebrated Hammer's style was giving way to something darker, harder, more raw. West Coast gangsta rap was taking over. The East Coast was firing back. And in the middle of all that, Hammer's newer albums were not connecting the way his earlier work had. Record sales slowed, touring income dropped, endorsement deals dried up, but the bills did not get the memo. The mortgage was still due. The staff of 200 still needed paychecks. The property taxes were still coming. The debts that had built up during the spending years were still there, collecting interest, waiting. This is the part that gets people every single time. The money stopped coming in at peak levels, but the spending was still locked in at peak levels. That gap between what was coming in and what was going out was growing wider every month. And here is the dangerous thing about that gap. It is invisible until it is not. One day everything looks fine, the next day it is not fine at all. Before we get into how everything came crashing down, drop a like if you're into these rise and fall money stories, and comment below who you want to see next on People Who Fumbled Millions. Should we cover an athlete, a rapper, a lottery winner, a CEO, a celebrity who had absolutely everything and somehow still found a way to lose it? Leave your suggestions down below. The most requested names are going on the list, and if you are new here, hit subscribe, because this series is specifically about the people who made millions, real, life-changing money, and somehow still managed to fumble the bag. Every episode is a new cautionary tale, and honestly, some of them are more unbelievable than this one. Alright, back to Hammer. A lot of people hear this story and think, how do you blow that much money? But the scary answer is, slowly and then all at once. It was not one purchase. It was a system that cost money to run every single day regardless of whether the hits were coming or not. Think about it. The estate alone, mortgage, utilities, maintenance, staff, security, easily hundreds of thousands per year. 200 people on payroll, millions per year in labor, tour production, legal fees, business ventures that did not work out, taxes on everything. And here is the detail that does not get talked about enough. When you have not properly structured your finances, when there is no one telling you exactly how much is actually yours to spend after taxes and obligations, you can feel richer than you are every single day. You look at the bank account, money is there, you spend it, but a significant portion of that money was already spoken for. That trap has caught far more wealthy people than just Hammer. The lifestyle does not care if the hits stop coming. It only cares about being maintained, and maintaining it requires a level of income that almost nobody, including most famous people, can sustain forever. By 1996, the image and the reality were no longer matching. The public still knew MC Hammer as the flashy superstar with the big songs and the bigger lifestyle. But behind the scenes, the money was gone. In 1996, Hammer filed for bankruptcy. He reportedly had $13 million in debt, legal disputes, business losses, unpaid taxes, loans, years of unchecked spending landing all at once, $13 million in debt. For context, he had earned $33 million at his peak. That means he did not just spend the $33 million. He went $13 million beyond it. $46 million worth of spending on a $33 million career. And this is the part that really hits. This was not decades after his fame faded. This happened within just a few years of him being one of the most famous entertainers on the planet. In 1990, he was on top of the world. By 1996, he was in bankruptcy court. 6 years. That is how fast it all collapsed. When the bankruptcy filing became public, the jokes started. The mockery started. The same world that had been singing his songs and doing his dances in living rooms and school cafeterias was now laughing at his fall. And that says more about the world than it does about him. Because the truth is, his story is not unique. A young professional who gets a big promotion and immediately upgrades their apartment, their car, their wardrobe. Same pattern. An athlete who signs their first contract and starts supporting a dozen family members overnight. Same pattern. A lottery winner who takes the lump sum, tells everyone, and starts spending before they have a plan. Same pattern. The income goes up. The lifestyle matches it immediately. And when the income drops, the lifestyle refuses to come down with it. Getting rich can happen fast. Staying rich requires something completely different. It requires discipline. It requires planning. It requires people around you who are willing to tell you no, even when you are the most famous person in the room. Hammer did not lose $33 million in one moment. He lost it slowly, structurally, systematically, and that is exactly why this story matters. MC Hammer's story does not end with bankruptcy. He did not disappear. He kept moving. Over the years, he rebuilt parts of his life and public image. He stayed connected to music. He got involved in ministry and community work. He became an early adopter of social media, one of the first celebrities to genuinely embrace Twitter when it launched. He connected with Silicon Valley and got involved in tech during the early social media era. Through all of it, he maintained something a lot of people in his position lose entirely: his dignity. But no matter what he does, the bankruptcy story follows him. Not just because the world is harsh, although sometimes it is, but because his rise and fall happened so publicly, so dramatically, so quickly, it became a permanent reference point in conversations about celebrity and money. When people teach financial literacy, Hammer comes up. When athletes go broke, Hammer comes up. He became the example. Not the worst one, not the only one, but one of the clearest ones. Because his story has no villain, no outside catastrophe, no fraud, just too much money going out and not enough coming in. That is the whole lesson. MC Hammer's story is about what happens when success grows faster than the structure around it. He had the talent. The world proved that. He had the work ethic. The man built a record business from scratch. He had the charisma, the fame, the money. But the financial foundation? The team of people whose job was to protect and grow the wealth? The long-term plan? That part was not solid enough. And that is not unique to Hammer. That is a trap that catches people at every income level. Getting rich can happen fast. Staying rich requires discipline, and that's the part of the story people usually forget. The money, the fame, the cars, the houses, all of it can disappear faster than it came. But the lesson stays. Because every story like this is bigger than just one person losing millions. It's about what happens when success moves faster than discipline, when the lifestyle gets louder than the plan, and when everybody around you is eating, but nobody is protecting the future. So let me know in the comments who you want me to cover next. An athlete, a rapper, a lottery winner, a CEO, or a celebrity who had it all and somehow still fumbled the bag. And if you're new here, subscribe to Fumbled Millions, because every episode is another real-life reminder that making millions is one thing. Keeping it is a whole different game.